What's going on, you guys? It's your brother in Christ, Tony here, and welcome to another Source of Light video. So, me and my wife recently moved into our house. I'm standing in it if you have not noticed. So, we bought this house. I was 23, still 23. She was 21, now 22. So, we bought a house at our early 20s. So, I want to talk to you guys how to well prepare for you to buy your first home, or maybe your second home, or if you're a college student, or maybe you're in high school and you're watching this, because I was preparing in high school. Like, when I was young, I was preparing, and I'll share with you guys here shortly. So, I have 3 quick tips on how to help prepare you for your next purchase or your home buying journey. Better said that way. So, let's jump right on into it. Number 1, you have to create a budget. You have to know how much money you're bringing in and where your money is going. You have to write how much money you made and then start budgeting where your money's going, the bills you have to pay. So when you figure out how much you make, then you got to give your first 10%. You got to give tithe. You just have to. No compromising. After you give your tithe, then you can say, okay, I have this bill, this bill, this bill. And after you wrote that down, then you get to see, okay, I have this much for groceries. Okay, I have a little bit of leeway to hang out with some friends and do this. But now I have this much to put towards savings. Because if you don't write a budget, you don't know where your money's going, and then it's just gonna be all over the place, and then you're gonna have more month and not enough money. So you have to create a budget, because the biggest tool that you have for wealth right now is your income. So you gotta be a good steward of your income. You have to be wise with what you're spending. You might have to sacrifice, whatever that looks like. You might have to stop those 3 gym accounts, which me and my wife have 2. I don't know why, we don't even go to the gym. But whether that's 3 gym accounts or a Hulu account and a Netflix account, whatever subscription, just write a budget. It helps you prepare and see where your money's going, because you have to keep track of where your money's going. So 1, you have to budget. Number 2, I'm gonna talk about debt and credit. I'm gonna try to make this one quick. Debt, you want to pay off any debt that you have, or the majority of the debt that you have right now. You wanna pay that off. There is no point to getting a greater amount of debt when you're already in debt. You might be able to do it, but it just won't feel good. You just kind of stay in that rut and that cycle. So whatever debt you have right now, you need to work to pay that off quickly. So let's say you have like 3 debts right now. Okay, you have a credit card debt, you have a car debt, and you have student loan debt, but you're looking to buy a house. What would I do? What I would do if I was in your situation, I would pay off that credit card debt. Okay, so focus, make those minimum payments on those other debts, but with that budget sheet, you can see how much you have left over. Now you're gonna tackle that credit card debt. Let's say it's like $1,500 of credit card debt. You're gonna tackle that and make extra payments and extra payments. And that's helping you also because it's knocking down those interest rates. So you aren't spending like $100 in interest at the end of this. It's saving you money in the end time. So you're gonna aggressively pay down that debt, okay? Now that credit card debt is gone, now you have your car debt. Let's say you have $10,000 on your car. So that $100 that you were spending on that credit card every month, now you can jump that over to an extra car payment on your $10,000 car payment, and any extra money on top of that, you need to pay down that car payment. So pay down that car payment, and then all that, after you pay that off, all that extra money, you snowball that over to your school loan. Okay, you want to pay off as much debt as you can. Me and my wife, we bought this house having only a car payment. I would have liked to pay it off, but we've sacrificed enough, and we had good, savings, and the debt wasn't that big of a deal, so we were able to do it. But if you guys are drowning in debt, focus on paying that debt off. Now, credit. Let's talk about credit. If you guys have debt, that means you guys are building credit, which is good because there's good and bad credit. And unfortunately, to buy a house, you have to have credit. So as you're paying off that debt you have, that's helping build your credit report and build your credit score. And it looks really good when you're paying things off. So not only are you just knocking out debt, now you're building your credit report and your credit score, which looks good to the bankers, and they want to see that. They want to see less debt, high credit score, so they know that you're being wise with your money. They can trust you with a home loan. So there's good and bad debt. What's good debt? Good debt is like getting a credit card only to put gas on it and pay it off before the monthly due date because you don't want to pay interest, or paying on your groceries and paying that off right away so there's no interest. That's good debt. Bad debt is buying that brand new laptop because you wanted an upgrade and now you're $2,000 in debt. That is bad credit. You don't want to do that. So you have to have credit, unfortunately, to buy a house, but if you do it smart and you do it right, it's good. So you want to pay off as much debt as you can. And if you have a little debt and you've sacrificed enough and you paid off a lot and there's this little debt and you found your dream home and you're like, I can't miss out on this opportunity, that's fine. You'll know by that time if it's a smart decision. Me and my wife, yeah, we didn't have the Jeep paid off, but we sacrificed a lot and we're like, okay, we can't miss out on our dream home right now. So we'll pay off the Jeep after we buy this house, that's fine. But we made enough sacrifices. What sacrifices? We lived in her parents' basement for like a year and a half. Yeah, we could have bought a house, but it wouldn't have been smart because it wouldn't have been our dream home. It wouldn't have been as big as we have right now. And then we would have jumped into something that we had no idea. Like, we never had debt to begin with. I mean, like little debt, but like this is our first car loan. So we wanted a car loan before we have a house home so that we kind of know what we're dealing with. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic on its own. So you want to pay off your debt and you want to build good credit. Me, like I said earlier, I was prepared when I was in high school. Right when I turned 18, even though I wasn't able to get a credit card right away because I didn't make enough or whatever the case may be, I went to fingerhut.com, and that you can sign up for, and you can start buying stuff on that website and paying it off. It's almost like a credit card. Their interest rate is ridiculous. It's just outrageous. So you want to be smart so you don't get caught in a pickle. But that's what I was doing. I was building my credit before I had a credit card. And so my credit score was good when I was ready to buy this house. So there's good and there's bad credit. So when you have a budget sheet and you don't have a lot of debt, and you have good credit, next is savings. The last tip is savings. You want to have a good savings stacked up. Being a first-time home buyer, there are grants that they give you depending on where you're at. Some you don't even have to pay a down payment. Some you pay like 3.5%, which is better than the regular 20%. As a first-time home buyer, yeah, you might not need a big down payment, but you still want a really good savings. One, because you do want to put a good down payment on it because it lowers that monthly payment. And if you can even get 20%, which is a lot, but if you can get there, it knocks off that insurance, the PMI insurance that you have to pay now extra on top of your house bill. But anyway, so you want to build a savings account because when you give that down payment for your house, you want enough in your savings for a backup. Like for instance, everyone in your house lost their job for 3 months, you want to make sure you have enough as a backup so that you're safe. It's like a safe zone. So you want to have a savings. As you're going through all the steps like you're budgeting and you're paying off debt, keep throwing a little bit into savings and building that up. Because when you get all three of that into place and you go to a bank and you present them with, hey, I want a house, how much can I get approved for? And they look at your debt ratio and your credit score, and then they see the savings you have and the income and your rise of your money, puts a smile on their face, and the journey is just so much more easier. So work on those 3 steps and it'll make your life way more easier when you're buying a house. That's what we've learned. Thank God we were kind of doing that without even knowing it. We kind of knew it, but we didn't know the big deal of it until we came into the house buying system. And so that's what I've learned. You have to budget know where your money's going. Because if you're trying to buy a house, but you aren't keeping track of where your money's going, it's just not going to work out. And you might say, well, I don't make enough to be able to like put aside. Do the littlest that you can. If you have to sacrifice that Starbucks every once in a while or get rid of it completely, it's worth it. $5 at a time will add up. So keep working on that budget, pay off that debt, get some good credit. Don't get yourself into bad debt, just get some good credit going, and then savings. And when you go to the table, you're gonna be looking pretty good. Okay, so to end this video, I had you guys ask me some questions on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure to do so that your guys' question can be answered. I'm gonna run through this real quick. I just picked a few questions. Number one, what is the number one thing you were looking for in a house? I was looking for land, so we have a decent backyard, but a basement with a 9-foot pour. Did the Lord come through? He gave us a basement with a 9-foot pour and finished. So we got like a really high ceiling in the basement, and that's the one thing I was not compromising on. When we went to look at houses and it was like an 8-foot pour, I was like, I can't do this. I'm a little too tall. It's like a little too like claustrophobic. I like to like breathe, and our basement has that. So that's what I was looking for. Number 2, how long does it take to find a great house? It just depends what you're looking for, honestly. If you're looking diligently and you're ready and you have everything aligned in place and you know what your budget is, and you know what you're approved for, it doesn't take that long. As long as everything's in place and you can afford it, it doesn't take that long. Just keep looking. Keep believing and ask God to lead you to the right house. Number 3, what are some things people don't know or think about at first? The extra payments you have to make with the house. Not only are you making house payment, but you have to pay the insurance if you didn't do a 20% down payment, which I told you guys. You have gas, you have water, you have electric, you have sewer, and then you have trash people. Like, you got to pay things, and then you got to pay for internet. You got to pay. That's why it's so important to budget and know what you're getting into before you jump into it and just purchase things, because there are things that you don't realize that are included in it, and you got to be prepared for it. So it's a blessing, it's fun, but you just got to know it. So I think those are some things that people don't realize. And the interest on your house. You guys got to, that's why it's so important to pay off your debt and then chuck any extra payment towards your debt. In this case, a house. Because if you just do your minimum monthly payment, by the end of the 30 years, instead of spending $100,000 on that house you bought, you're going to end up spending $250,000 at the end of the 30 years. I would rather make extra payments a month and just cut that down in half or more and save yourself some money. That's another video on its own. So, do you have to have a credit card to secure a mortgage? College student with no credit. So I talked about that previously, but if you don't have a credit card, some things that help are your student loans. If you have a student loan, that helps your credit score. A car, if you needed a new car and you decided to go get a car loan, that's good on credit score as well. They love to see that. And then if you don't have a credit score and you need to build one, go get a little credit card, but just be wise with it. Don't spend it for useless stuff. Spend it and pay it off before that monthly payment, and start building your credit slowly before you are ready to buy a house. Because if you can have it prepared now and then 5 years later, you're ready to buy a house and everything's in place, you're going to thank yourself later. Last question, do you like your roommate? I love my roommate. I love living life with my wife in this beautiful house. Couldn't have asked for a better roommate. So if you guys didn't know, that was asked by my wife. So follow my social media, my Instagram, ask me questions, keep up with me. That's the best way that I respond most of the time. But anyways, those are my tips on helping you guys purchase your first home. If you have any questions financially, anything on vision boards, anything in regards to the next step in your life or whatever the case may be, ask me down below. I want to help. I want to help people and believers find freedom that Christ came to give us, because we should not be struggling. So that's my desire, and I hope this helped you guys out. If you have any comments, questions, testimonies, anything, leave it down below, comments below. If this is your first time and you found it informative, helpful, and good, I would love for you guys to hit the subscribe button, because I make faith-based videos and helping people find freedom and reach their goals in life like God came to give us. So, subscribe, like button, social media. I think that's it, y'all. I think that's it. So, I love you guys. Jesus loves you more. Let's change the world.